Centralized exchanges are a great way to get a lot of liquidity when you're trading. So if you're a big trader, you're a whale, or you have a lot of tokens and you want to dump or you want to trade without moving the market too much, then centralized exchanges, especially large ones like Binance and Coinbase, have played their role in basically providing the liquidity that you need without the market suffering too much. It's also a very fast way of doing it, right? If you have your tokens already sitting there, you can take advantage of big, quick pumps and you can get in, get out. So if you're a swing trader, usually operating on a centralized exchange is often a good thing, right? For you anyway, in terms of how quickly you can get in and out of your positions without spending too much time and money. On decentralized exchanges, usually you have to deal with a delayed sort of time when it comes to swapping tokens. You might have to pay a lot of fees, especially if you're trading Ethereum-based tokens and some others as well. The gas fees are really high, very slow. There's some risks associated as well. So when you talk centralized versus decentralized, you know, the decentralized exchange isn't always better than the centralized exchanges. However, the big downside with centralized exchanges, of course, is that they are not your tokens, right? Not your keys, not your crypto. And this has been demonstrated time and time again by how many people have lost their tokens when these exchanges basically just close their account or frozen it or whatever, or the exchange itself haven't gone down and taken all their tokens with them. Now, until recently, there wasn't any clarity as to who owned the tokens that you put on these platforms. Since then, some of these exchanges have actually come out to try and assure the people who basically have tokens being held on their platforms that those tokens still belong to them and not to the exchange. But saying something and tokens being legally yours is a completely different thing to the technicalities involved in if the exchange went down or they got hacked or they decide to freeze your account or they, step on your airdrop or they suddenly delist something that you were holding on there and then you can't get to your tokens. Now, Coinbase has been notorious for doing stuff like this, where they would hold a token, the token would get airdrops. Some of the other centralized exchanges will pass on the airdrops to the people who are holding those tokens. It's easy to do. They know who they are. They know the percentage they own. They could just basically create a wallet and allocate those tokens to them. It's a very easy step, but I've never seen Coinbase ever do this. Coinbase does get the airdrops, but what Coinbase does is they just take the money for themselves, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, had you been holding your tokens on your own wallet, your own cold wallet, or even on your phone, depending on what the airdrop requirements are, you would get your airdrops and they'll be yours. So that's one thing that they like to do, a lot of these companies. A lot of these companies can also close your account prior to a big airdrop and just take the money. Now, Uphold is one of those companies that has done that recently, even to myself. I'm preparing a video to basically give you guys an update into what happened with my account with Uphold. If you've been following my account, if you've been following my channel for a while, you remember that I made a video about Uphold closing my account. Well, they've definitely closed it now because I did actually provide them eventually with the information that they required, but they still decided that despite the information, they're still closing my account anyway. They haven't responded to whether or not I'm going to get my Ivers airdrop. They just haven't responded. They didn't say I wasn't going to get it. They just refused to respond, even though they responded to other things that I asked them about. As far as I'm concerned, that's gone, and they're going to just basically take it for themselves. Who knows? Maybe they'll turn around and do the right thing. But when it does happen, I would do an update. Anyway, so over the years, people have started to wise up to these exchanges and their, no good actions, basically. And that these exchanges, even though they operate in crypto, they are no different to legacy organizations like banks that also own your tokens or own your money, all right? And they can close your account anytime they want. They can do anything they want with your money. And when you deposit your money there, they're not necessarily taking care of your money in a good way. Some of those organizations are loaning your money out to third parties, high risk investments, etc. As we've seen over the years with banks collapsing and crypto organizations collapsing, like FTX and all those people taking your tokens that you thought were SAFU, and they then put them in high risk investments that you didn't want to. You could have put your tokens in high risk investment and fetched those high risk or high gains, because again, usually the higher the risk, the higher the gains, but then the higher the loss when it does happen. So you picked what you considered was a safer investment, and they've taken your investment and they've put it in a high risk investment in a reckless manner, made a whole bunch of money. But when it came time to lose money, they lost your tokens. So they gained the benefits of your tokens, but you gained the loss of the activity. So basically they transferred the high risk to you and the high benefits to themselves. It's outright theft. It should be illegal everywhere. Okay. Anyway, so these organizations are wisening up to the fact that people are wisening up to that fact. Okay. And in 2023, we saw a massive exodus of tokens from the likes of Coinbase and Binance. Organizations like Bittrex had to close down in the UK. Obviously, the regulations were to blame for that, but also a lot of people just took their funds out because, you know, they didn't want their money sitting on an exchange that could close down at any time due to lawsuits, due to unscrupulous activities, corrupt CEOs, etc. As a result, just like high street banks that are closing thousands of their high street shops every day in the UK, where I live now, we used to have about 10 high street banks. We only have 2 left in the last 5 years. About 8 of them closed, okay? And the ones that are there, it's only a matter of time before they're gone as well, because people have moved on. Technology has come. The old school requirements are no longer a thing. I guess, you know, some of the elderly people that were still around had to use these services. But now it's 2024, we have alternatives. People are using crypto, people are using internet banks, and the power has been taken away from a lot of these banks, and they're struggling, right? The centralized exchanges also are starting to struggle because people are taking their tokens off of them, right? And as a result, some of them are coming up with stopgap measures and ways to kind of hold you back, you know, from taking your money. For instance, right? I know this also has to do with regulations, right? If you look at Binance, right? Before, if you wanted to take your coins out of Binance, you could just take your coins out of Binance. Yeah, back in the day, you just type in a wallet and the money was gone. Now you have to go through a whole bunch of stuff, right? Of course, there's the 2-factor authentication thing, right? Or even 3-factor authentication. That's security based and that's fair enough, right? However, now your wallet, your own cold wallet, your external wallet, now has to be whitelisted for you to be able to transfer certain amounts. This is true for Coinbase, for Binance, for some other organizations, at least that operate in the UK. So when you transfer the tokens out of the exchanges, the government wants to know what are the wallets that the money is going to. Okay, so this is anti-money laundering legislation, which is fair enough, right? However, the actual transfer itself isn't guaranteed because it's subject to another level of authentication, and it's called approval. So now Binance has to approve your transaction. So you might want to get your 10 Bitcoins out of Binance, for instance. You put in a wallet address, you click the send, you do the authentication. Yes, it's you. There's another level. There's an approval level. Binance could still step in and say, nope, you can't take this Bitcoin out of Binance. And that's new. That never used to be the case, okay? And as we move into 2024, 2025, we're going to see more of these restrictions, more of these controls, and more ways to try and get people not to take their money out of these centralized exchanges and the reach of these big organizations and, of course, the government, right? Now, it has tax implications, of course. A lot of people have used cryptocurrencies to evade taxes, etc. And the government is clamping down on that. That's to be understood. However, people shouldn't be prevented from moving their money from one place to the other if they so choose. It's up to the government to then say, hey, where did you move this money? And the person has to be an adult to be able to do their own taxes, provide the information that they want. There shouldn't be technological hurdles to try and stop you from doing what you needed to do on a platform that was created to sidetrack all that sort of stuff in the legacy systems in the first place. Another thing that I wanted to mention was the stopgap measures that some of these organizations are coming up with to try and mess with our minds. So now we have people thinking, exchange wallets, bad, my own cold wallet, good, right? That's the general energy that we're moving into. So now you see them creating stopgaps. A great example is the vault that was created by Uphold. And what that does is it gives you a sense of false security to say that, hey, this vault thing, that Uphold has no access to it, but you have access to it. But the risk of the custodian risk of losing your keys, etc., is now being shared or at least transferred to Uphold, right? So now this vault thing is very secure, and it makes it seem like as if you're using a vault, like a deposit locker in a bank or something like this. It gives you that impression, but that's not what it is. All it is them holding your cold storage for you. So it doesn't matter if it's a cold storage or hot storage. If somebody else is holding it for you, then it's not yours, nevertheless, right? Now, I know there's some nuance to this, right? It's more complicated than I'm putting it. But if you just put it simply, think about it. They want you to not take your money away from Uphold. That's basically what they're trying to do. And this is a crucial question you must ask yourself. Can Uphold prevent you from taking your money out of the vault technologically if they wanted to? The answer is yes. Yes, they can stop you. And that reason alone is enough reason for you to stay away from products like Vault, okay? Don't be deceived. Vault is not the same as cold storage. It's not the same as holding your own tokens. Yes, it's less liquid or whatever than if you were just holding it on a wallet on Uphold. But bottom line is, the government can subpoena whatever keys that they're holding for you. The authorities can grab them, okay, and force you to enter the other one or whatever. Listen, if somebody can recover your keys without your presence, then they can do it without your permission. If somebody can recover your keys without your presence, they can recover your keys without your permission, okay? And that permission can be taken away from you legally by the government. So there is nothing that these organizations can provide that can beat a cold storage that you own. None of this is financial advice, not legal advice, not tax advice. These are the words of an enthusiast like yourself who makes videos on YouTube. I may be wrong, who knows, right? But that's what I believe. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.